All right, what's up, Bulldogs? All right, I don't have much time here, but I wanted to do a quick live stream. I've got a coaching call coming up in like 20 minutes, so I got to jump on that. But I want to do a quick live stream to talk about what's happening with it's kind of a historic event that's happening right now. I think a lot of things are brewing here. There's a revolution brewing, and not the kind that most people think. It's going to be a revolution from the financial world up, and this is going to potentially start a lot of other type of things. This is a unifying event, I would say, between a few different groups, from almost between the left and the right, coming against possibly the technocracy and some of these big hedge funds and Wall Street. It's kind of interesting because I just saw that Ted Cruz had just agreed with AOC, and this is all based on what just happened with GameStop and AMC. So if you don't know what happened, check out the video I did yesterday. I just did this quick video and threw it up there. But this is gonna be crazy. This is a historic event that's happening right now, and like I said, I think not a lot of people are putting together the pieces. There's a few things I want to talk about, and there's a reason why I'm doing this right now, even though I got to jump on a coaching call, so I don't have a lot of time for this live stream, because I want to answer a few questions for you guys here. So a bunch of you are asking me what you should do here. Like, should you get in on this? Should you try and make money on this? And I'll just give you a quick answer. No, don't mess around with this. Now, the reason why I say this is because you're just going to get caught with your panties down if you do this, because there's so much volatility in the market. If you were to buy some options and you were to catch this at the beginning of the wave, that would have been a different thing. But you really don't want to mess with this. And again, unless you're playing with a huge amount of money, you're not going to make a huge amount of money, and you're going to potentially lose a lot of money. And just, this is not the way to make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, so let's say that you have a $10,000 and you're like, oh, I should buy a bunch of GameStop stock or buy some options on this. Let's say that it goes crazy, whatever, you buy an option, you 10x it to $100,000. That's not life changing. It's not going to matter. I know for some of you think it is, but it's not. Instead, get on your purpose, get on your grind, start building a business, start investing in real estate, that kind of stuff. Don't look for these get rich quick things, even those, believe me, I was tempted. I was like, shit, could I jump on this and start to get, but no, it's best not to mess with this. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, so guys, don't let this distract you, and don't try and don't feel this FOMO. I know a lot of you probably feel this FOMO, so don't worry about that. Okay, so again, just to recap what's going on here right now. So in the last few days, there was a subreddit. Again, I did the video yesterday. You can check it out. There was a subreddit that was, Wall Street Bets, and they basically pumped GameStop up in order to stick it to hedge fund managers who had shorted, I think, 120% more of the stock than existed. Again, real quick, what is short selling? It means that you sell stock that you don't own. You basically borrow it and sell it, and then you have to pay it back, just like you would borrow something from someone. And so the whole idea with shorting a stock is that if you borrowed it at, let's say, $10, and then you sell it, you get your $10, and then now you have to give back the stock, and you're hoping to give it back at $5 or zero if the company goes under. So these hedge funds, what ended up happening was there's a price where they have to liquidate their assets because of the margin call. And I think for GameStop, that was around like $115 or something. So it got pumped up well beyond that. And so these hedge funds, I think 2 hedge funds went out of business yesterday. Okay, so in response to that, this is quite interesting what happened, because you have retail investors and you have institutional investors. Retail investors is you and me trading on the stock market. Okay, institutional investors are hedge funds. They have there's a lot of there's different levels of trading access. I'm not gonna get into all the details, but let's just say that they can make trades milliseconds before you can, and they're making direct trades right there on the market. Whereas when you put a trade order in through your brokerage, it's not immediately executed. You're basically trading within the stocks that the brokerage owns, because they have so many of each stock, and they're basically facilitating it to you. So with that said, here's what happened this morning. Robinhood, okay, is robbing you. Robinhood basically said, oh, we're not going to allow you to buy GameStop or AMC, and there was a few others. I think American Airlines got in there. Not only that, but TD Ameritrade also. Okay, this is this is big. They did not allow people to buy GameStop or AMC. So this is huge market manipulation. I want you to understand, like, this is a direct slap in the face to the people, to anyone, and this is going to unite. In my opinion, this is going to unite. Yeah, Nokia too. And this is going to unite sort of the left and the right, this intersection, right? Because like I said, AOC, I think she tweeted something about this today, and Ted Cruz responded and said he agreed with her, which is really, really interesting. Now, could this be all some kind of op that is constructed in order to create this effect? I'm not sure. I'm not too big into the conspiracy theories, but you have to understand the implications of this, right? Because now there's a common enemy. Right there, we can unify and say that this, that Wall Street, that these big hedge fund managers, they actually are manipulating the market, and they're not allowing free trade. I mean, in this sense, if you can't trade on Robinhood, so there's going to be some class action lawsuits, definitely. Yeah. So Brandon says he's in a class action lawsuit. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy fallout from this. It is. It's insane here. Let me see here. Brandon says, I have about 15K shares in there, but I'm a bad guy. However, BlackRock bought 9 million shares, and no one's talking about that. Yeah, and so it's really insane that this is going on now. And so there's a couple other implications here, right? So one implication is that I believe this is this is gonna cause, or not necessarily cause, but this is really more realistic to revolutionary type of mentality than storming the Capitol and all this stuff. This is bigger deal than that, okay? Because now you're talking about the common man, okay, having a common complaint that's valid against Wall Street and hedge funds, and typically the sentiment hasn't been that, right? So this is interesting, and it's very public. Everyone can see what's happened here. The other thing that's going to happen here, okay, this is really interesting. My prediction on this is that this, like, decentralized, we are in the era of, like, this is going to be a historic time, because what is going to happen in the future, and I would bet everything on this, is that we are going to have a massive adoption of decentralized systems. All right, it's already started, right? We already have Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? We already have some of these with BitTorrent and things like that, but we're going to see even larger decentralized systems, because people are getting sick of this. They're being sick of being told by technology companies what they can and cannot say online. Okay, they're being now Robinhood is telling you what you can trade and what you can't trade, in what's supposed to be a free market. And so I see that this is going to push the adoption of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And here's the other interesting thing about this is, right, what you're seeing is sort of this battle, right, that's been brewing for a while. And these institutional investors, hedge fund managers, the fat cats, they're trying to hold on because they see this coming, and they see that they'll lose the power. Because the thing is, the reason why hedge funds and whatnot are able to make so much money is because they have an edge. They have an edge on the trading, because they found out about the orders milliseconds before they actually execute. For example, Citadel has information from Robinhood on when you execute an order before it actually goes through. They can see those orders, which gives them an edge, and then they can also execute quicker than you can. And obviously they probably have inside information as well that that doesn't get shared publicly, but the problem is that they see that things like DeFi is huge. Okay, if you haven't looked into DeFi, that's why I'm so bullish on Ethereum, is because DeFi is decentralized finance. So you could become your own bank, right? So I have some Ethereum that I stake. Okay, when I stake that Ethereum, I can lend that out. I can make an interest on that, and there's no one that is controlling that. It's completely decentralized. So anyway, I think you're going to see a lot of interesting stuff. OOP had a good point here. He said that Wall Street Discord conveniently got banned for hate speech as well, which is so interesting. Tucson Razorback says, yeah, the commoners are realizing the game is rigged. And so it's really interesting, because at what level is it rigged? It's rigged at every level, right? We're seeing this as, the veil is being pulled back, and you're saying, okay, well, did you have freedom of speech? No, you don't really have freedom of speech, right? You think that you're living in a free society, in a free world, but you're not. Okay, I mean, if anything, in this last 2 years, this last calendar year, you should have noticed that you're not living in a free world. Okay, you may think you are, but look at what's happened with mask mandates, with all of these things, restrictions, all these liberties that have been taken away. Businesses being forced to be shut down, and now as the ultimate slap in the face, you find a way to make some money, okay, to stick it to the man, and the man comes down and says, no, you can't trade on our platform, you can't buy. So this is definitely market manipulation. So Tucson says, start your own crypto, I'll buy. Yeah, I don't know if I'll do that, but anyway, I would definitely say that it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of holding, at least in the crypto space. Again, I've talked about this a lot. I've got a video coming out in the next week or so talking about why you shouldn't invest in cryptocurrency, but you should invest in yourself, because it's not an investment, it is a speculation. But again, if you read Taleb's books, Anti-Fragile especially, he talks about the barbell strategy. He talks about putting 90% of your assets in like stable things that have low risk, but then 10% in these sort of can shoot for the moon ones, and that's where I see crypto falling into that space. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. We're going to see a lot of things it's that are going to happen from this. But like I said, guys, don't get sucked into this. Okay, don't you still need to be smart here. Okay, and don't just jump on this and try and buy a bunch of GameStop and AMC. Okay, let the other guys do this, but you need to be smart, because you don't want to get caught holding the bag. And like I said, what are you going to invest? If you buy 1,000 shares, I mean, not 1,000 shares. If you invest $1,000 into this and it triples up, big deal. But you know what? You're going to waste probably a week worth of productivity following the stock, and you're not going to do anything besides constantly watching the news and watching the stock, so that you're going to net lose money on that. So it's just not a play that I would advise, like doing this kind of thing. Anytime you try to get rich quick, you're gonna be you're thinking about things the wrong way, right? Don't go for hustles, right? I have to tell a lot of my coaching clients this all the time. It's like, don't go for hustles, all right? But you got to have a long-term sustainable business plan and investment plan. You can't just be, trying to make a quick buck here and a quick buck there, okay? It doesn't even add up at making all those quick bucks. So you've got to have something that is sustainable, business model. But yeah, so anyway, this is some pretty crazy shit here. We could take a look at let me see what the GameStop, what's happening with this. So I think the whole idea is that, like, over the weekend, it needs to stay above 115 or something like that. So let me see. I'll share this screen. We can take a look here. But oh, I got the echo screen. Hold on. Let's look at this one. Okay. So yeah. So 255, and you can look at this chart here, so you can see they tried to stop it, but apparently there's still platforms where you can buy GameStop. So it's interesting too, because the question is, like, what actually caused this, right? I think that there was some government action that occurred. We don't know yet, right? But I would speculate that the reason why Robinhood halted trading on those shares is because they got some pressure. But yeah, there definitely needs to be an investigation into it. It's yeah. So Soren says, Citadel the real villain, Robinhood the fall guy. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you like, I agree, but I also disagree, because Robinhood, they should stand for, their whole platform was about making it easy for the little guy to trade, and then they screwed the little guy. So whatever. But let's see. Storm says, you hit the nail right on the head. I've been watching my Weeple all day and haven't done any homework or training. That's the thing, guys. That's why don't do this. Yeah. So but anyway, that's it. Like, just watch and see what happens here. Computer science or engineering degree? Well, thanks for the super chat, but I would say computer science degree for sure. But yeah, so Brandon says here that backs Robinhood. There's a clear conflict of interest there, backing Melvin Capital, who went under. Yeah, that's very true. People want pure capitalism. People seeing more and more that is currently rigged. I think this is a good point, right? So I was talking to this young lady the other day. All right. And she was talking about how she's socialist. And she says, well, she's not really socialist. She's more against capitalism. And I was like, that's interesting. How can you be against capitalism? She's like, well, I'm against, the way that capitalism, is today. And I was thinking about that and I was like, well, I kind of disagree with a lot of your viewpoints, but you're kind of right on that. The way that like a truly free market, that's really a libertarian viewpoint, wouldn't have these problems, right? When you start to regulate and restrict things, that's when there's going to be conflicts of interest and there's going to be biases and there's going to be winners and losers, and you cannot be fair. The only thing that's fair is a free market. Nothing else is fair. There's no other way to have. So what do I think will happen with Robinhood moving forward? I think there's definitely going to be a class action lawsuit. It's going to be pretty hard to not call this market manipulation. This is clearly market manipulation. I think Robinhood is going to be in trouble. And it's interesting because at this point, yeah, this is pretty ridiculous. At this point, it's pretty crazy, to see this just publicly happening, right? I think what's happened also is that what's interesting, is that when you're in a position of power, okay, if you guys haven't read 48 Laws of Power, you should read 48 Laws of Power. But when you're in a position of power, what you really want to do is you want to hide what your actual true intents are. So there's this concept called the cat's paw, which is like you use the cat's paw to grab something out of the fire, all right, instead of your own paw, right? So you don't get burned. And so a lot of really powerful people utilize this, right? But what happened now is that they had to scramble. So they had to like show their actual cards, because these hedge funds that are trying to recover from these short positions that they're getting squeezed out of, they had to take action, right? So it became very clear at who was taking the action at this point, and so they got exposed. And so when you're in a position of power, the least thing that you want to do is to get exposed. And now that they're this is funny, now that they're exposed, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens, is because you can't, it's like Pandora's box. You can't put the cat back in the bag. Okay. So once the cat's out of the bag, people know now that they see who's pulling the strings. And it's I like I said, I think that this is going to be a big start of a revolution here, and there needs to be in the financial industry, right? It needs to be a fair playing field. That's why I am big on Ethereum, on decentralized finance, DeFi. It's the thing that makes the most sense, right? And like I said, I think this is going to be one of those things. Like we're getting to this point where people are going to push really hard to have decentralized platforms. I expect in the next year or two, we'll see Facebook be dethroned by a decentralized version of Facebook. I know it's been attempted, but see what happened even with you look at what happened with Amazon, right? With the Amazon cloud and how they killed Parler. Well, like that needed to happen in order to see that weakness. And so now, how many people right now are thinking, if I find a solution to this problem, I'm going to be rich? And how many people are just pissed that are looking for solutions to this problem? So you're going to see, I believe, creative models that are going to allow, for a truly distributed social media networks to be created, and the same thing with finance. So it's yeah, Brandon, good to see you, man. Either way, the world is watching this, and it's everyone's face now. Yeah, I think that's really true. But like I said, I see this as a good thing here, because it is going to unify some people. I think it's really hard. It's been interesting because I try not to get political. Like I said, I'm libertarian, so I'm not Republican or Democratic, all right, or a Democrat. But it's interesting because a lot of the kind of liberal side, the left, is really saying, oh, all these conservatives, they're in these conspiracy theories. There's no one pulling the strings. There's not fraud. There's not things being manipulated. And then now, but then the left has always been sort of against Wall Street, right? Like, okay, these fat cats and whatnot. And now it's kind of almost like a unification to say, wait a minute, I think a lot of people that might be left leaning might be waking up right now and saying, hold on, if they can do this, right? And especially this affects you, especially like if you were, there's a lot of young millennial and in younger generation that were on Robinhood, because Robinhood was a platform of the young generation, right? So and they tried to make a trade this morning, and like some of you guys have said, and they couldn't, because they couldn't capitalize on this thing, and they're like, screw this is some BS. What is going on here? And so I see this as kind of unifying, hopefully a revolution against these systems that that have been existing for a long time, and it has to crumble. It has to crumble, right? It eventually has to come down. Like I said, that's why Bitcoin, Ethereum especially, is so dangerous to these financial institutions. It'll be interesting to see, and there's nothing they can do against it, right? Because it's so decentralized. But there's a fight. There's a fight brewing right now. There's a war that is underway, and we're going to see some really interesting things happen in the next. This is going to be a historic time. So in fact, and what the other thing about this, and I mentioned this yesterday, is that this changed forever financial transactions, the financial institutions, right? This forever. The world is never going to be the same after this, as far as the stock market. And the reason why is because it's like an Achilles heel for hedge funds now. So this is almost like I'm very much against cancel culture, right? But here's the thing, okay? This is like cancel culture for Wall Street, for hedge funds. Okay. Again, I don't like cancel culture for sure, but people just discovered that they can stick it to big financial institutions. So anytime, like, there's a bunch of stuff that was happening in secret, and now it's become public, and now there's recourse against that, right? So just like when, again, I'm not a fan of cancel culture, but when the left, social justice warriors discovered, hey, we can cancel people, it sort of created, it changed things, right? So now it's like, oh, you got to watch what you say online. You can't, again, for a negative, but this is sort of that same kind of mob ability for the positive. In fact, I did a video a little bit ago, I think it came out maybe last week, where I was talking about understanding power and power dynamics. Or actually, I was on John's live stream, and I was talking about power dynamics, and this is the key. I was talking about, like, one way that you can overcome the power, like when you're in a weak position of power, is that you can get together and you can create a big enough group to overwhelm, right? So that's what's happening here. And like I said, it's changing everything. This is a new era, a new world that we're going to live in, because the financial institutions will never be the same again. Not after this. Not after this spanking. There's a lot of danger here for them. So it changes the whole rules of the game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, guys, don't get caught up in this. Don't buy up and lose your ass on this. And like I said, let's see what CD says. He says, I bought BlackBerry for $13.26. I was up double yesterday at one point, and now I'm down a lot from that, but I'm still holding. Look, just get out of there. Get out of the position. It doesn't matter, because how much did you put in there, right? I mean, look, this is why I'm telling you guys to not do this, okay? Because, okay, so you bought BlackBerry, right? How much did you buy? You didn't buy $100,000 worth. You probably spent like 5 or 10K, okay? And so now, you you put 5K in, let's say. It goes up to 10K, okay? And now you're down to like 4K. That's just a roller coaster. Like, you're just causing yourself emotional pain, and you're not going to get rich from it. Okay. Now, if you put 100K, even 100K in, right? If I could take a hustle where I could put 100K of my money and I've got a pretty good chance of doubling it, I would not do it. Okay. Why? Because the emotional roller coaster would cost me more. Because even if I double it, even if I take 100K and I make it into 200K, big whoop. That doesn't change my life. It's, you know what I mean? Only if you bet a large enough amount of money And the problem is that it costs you too much to track this stuff and to the emotional toll that it takes on you. So, all right, guys, that's it. I gotta jump to a coaching call here. If you guys haven't joined Bulldog Mindset membership, by the way, there's a link down below. Check it out. If you want to do coaching with me, I've got my Thursdays pretty booked up, but I have a slot or two that is open. You can check that out. Just send me an email or jump on the coaching page and fill out the form. All right, guys, take care and don't lose your asses in the market. All right, take care.